Imagine this. The air is so cold it feels like a physical weight on your chest. Every breath you draw in is a sharp, crystalline sting in the back of your throat. Before you stretches a world of muted greens, browns, and grays. A vast, rolling steppe broken by dark clusters of pine and birch. The wind is a constant, relentless presence. It moans through the sparse trees and whips across the plains, carrying the scent of damp earth, pine resin, and something else. Something ancient and wild. This is not our world. This is a world of immense silence, punctuated only by the sounds of nature at its most raw. This is the world of the Ice Age. And in this world, a figure stands, patient and unmoving, not a silhouette of weakness but a bastion of strength against the elements. This is a Neanderthal, and I want you to erase from your mind the image you might have, the stooped, brutish, club-dragging caricature from old cartoons and outdated textbooks. That image is a ghost, a fiction born from misunderstanding and the incomplete skeletons of old, arthritic individuals. The being we're watching now is powerful, intelligent, and more perfectly adapted to this harsh environment than we could ever be. Look at their build. They are shorter than us on average, but immensely robust. A barrel chest houses huge lungs, capable of drawing in great volumes of that frigid air. Their limbs are thick, their bones dense. This isn't a clumsy design, it's a masterpiece of thermal efficiency. Their stocky frame and shorter extremities minimize surface area, conserving precious body heat in a world where a single miscalculation could lead to freezing. Think of them less as a primitive ancestor and more as a biological furnace, expertly designed to endure the cold. Their face, too, is a tool of survival. That prominent brow ridge, the large, wide nose. For a long time, we saw these as signs of primitivism. But what if that large nasal cavity was a radiator in reverse? A complex system for warming and humidifying the dry, freezing air before it hit those vital lungs. Every part of them was a response to the challenges of their existence. They are standing here for a reason. They are not lost. They are not wandering aimlessly. They are hunting. And for a Neanderthal, the hunt was everything. It wasn't a sport or a pastime. It was the central pillar upon which their entire world was built. The success of a hunt meant life. It meant high-calorie, nutrient-rich food that fueled their large bodies, and even larger brains, by the way, that were on average slightly larger than our own. It meant thick hides to be scraped and prepared for clothing, for shelter against that ever-present wind. It meant bones that could be cracked for their marrow, a vital source of fat, or shaped into tools, awls, and scrapers. It meant sinew that could be turned into cordage for hafting a spear point or tying together a shelter. Failure, on the other hand, meant a slow, gnawing hunger. It meant weakness, vulnerability, and the creeping threat of starvation. So when we talk about a hunting instinct in Neanderthals, we're not talking about a simple, primal urge. We're talking about a complex suite of skills, knowledge and intuition passed down through generations, honed over hundreds of thousands of years. It was a deep, intimate understanding of the world around them. It was the ability to read the landscape like a map, to know which valleys would shelter game from the wind, where the herds would travel to find water. It was the ability to interpret a single partial hoofprint in the mud, to know the animal that made it, how long ago it passed, whether it was healthy or injured, walking or running. This was a form of literacy written not in letters, but in the language of the earth itself. In their hand, they hold the primary tool of this deadly trade, a spear. But again, let's adjust our mental image. This is not a flimsy, long-distance throwing javelin. The archaeological evidence, like the famous Schoningen spears which predate even some Neanderthals, points to a different kind of weapon. These were thick, heavy spears made from the trunks of young trees like spruce or yew. They were sharpened at one end, the tip often hardened in a fire to make it as tough as iron. They were balanced, not for flight, but for the hand. This was a thrusting spear, a weapon that required its wielder to get incredibly, terrifyingly close to their prey. Think about what that means. The game they hunted wasn't small or timid. This was the Pleistocene, an age of megafauna. They shared their world with woolly mammoths, behemoths of fur and ivory that stood 13 feet at the shoulder. They hunted the woolly rhinoceros, a 2-ton tank of muscle and horn. They competed with cave bears larger than any modern grizzly and faced down cave lions that dwarfed their African cousins. To hunt these animals was not a matter of standing at a safe distance. It was a face-to-face confrontation. It required more than just strength. It required an iron will, an encyclopedic knowledge of animal anatomy and behavior, and a level of courage that is almost impossible for us to comprehend. It also required a plan. Our hunter shifts their weight. Their eyes, sharp and discerning, scan the ground. They are not looking for an entire herd. Not yet. They are looking for a sign, a whisper of a clue. And then they see it. A track, pressed into the damp soil near a cluster of ferns. Not just any track. It's the cloven hoof of a steppe bison, a powerful and aggressive herbivore weighing nearly a ton. The print is fresh. The edges are still sharp, not yet softened by the wind. Water has only just begun to seep into the depression. It was here, and it was here recently. The hunter crouches, their powerful frame coiled like a spring. They lay their spear on the ground for a moment, their fingers tracing the edge of the track. They are alone, but they are not. In their mind, they are connected to their clan, their family group, who are waiting, trusting. This single track is the first thread of a story of survival. And with spear back in hand, our Neanderthal rises, turns their face into the wind, and begins to follow. The hunt has begun. Following a trail is not a straight line. It's a dance of deduction. Our hunter moves with a deceptive speed, not running, but with a ground-covering, powerful gait. Their body is a sensory instrument, tuned to the frequency of the wild. Their gaze isn't just fixed on the ground in front of them. It sweeps in wide arcs, absorbing everything. A patch of flattened grass over there. The bison rested here. A freshly snapped twig on a low-hanging branch, the break still pale and wet. It passed this way, brushing against it. They are reading a book written in a language of displaced soil and bent vegetation. The wind is their ally. It tells them they are still downwind of their quarry, their own scent carried away, keeping them a ghost in the landscape. This isn't a frantic pursuit. It's a marathon of persistence. Hours might pass. The sun, a weak disk in the hazy sky, arcs towards the west. The cold deepens. For us, this would be an ordeal. Our minds would wander. Our bodies would ache. Our resolve would crumble. But for the Neanderthal, this is a state of heightened being. This is the flow state of the apex predator. All distractions fall away, leaving only the hunter, the trail, and the singular purpose of the hunt. There is a profound patience here, an endurance born not just of physical toughness but of an unshakable mental focus. This is the essence of their hunting instinct, the ability to sustain this level of concentration for as long as it takes. As they crest a low ridge, they pause, not because the trail has gone cold, but because their objective has changed. Below, in a shallow, marshy basin carved by an ancient river, is the herd. A dozen or so steppe bison, their shaggy brown coats making them look like mobile boulders. They graze peacefully, their breath pluming in the cold air. It's a sight of immense power, a wall of muscle, horn, and primordial fury if provoked. To charge in now would be suicide. This is where the individual skill must merge with the collective strength of the group. The hunter raises a hand to their mouth and produces a sound. It's not a human shout, not a bird call, but something in between. A low, resonant hoot that carries far in the thin air, yet is subtle enough to be mistaken for the wind by the grazing herd. They wait. A minute passes. Then, from a thicket of birch trees to the left comes an answering call. A moment later, another echoes from a rocky outcrop to the right. They were never truly alone. The clan was here all along, a scattered net drawing slowly tighter, guided by the scout they had sent ahead. Slowly, other figures emerged from the landscape, materializing from the background as if they were always a part of it. There are 4 of them. An older male, his face a road map of scars, his movements economical and sure. He is the anchor, the veteran. 2 younger males brimming with a powerful, contained energy, their eyes fixed on the older hunter, waiting for direction, and a female as powerfully built as the men, her focus just as intense. She carries the same heavy, fire-hardened spear. In Neanderthal society, survival was a collective effort, and the hunt was not solely the domain of men. Everyone who could contribute did. There is no lengthy discussion, no grand strategy meeting. Their communication is clipped, guttural, and efficient, a language honed for tactical precision. But most of the planning happens without words. It happens in shared glances, in subtle gestures, a tilt of the head, a pointed finger. They all know their roles. They have practiced this deadly choreography 100 times before. They are not just a group of individuals. They are a single, coordinated hunting machine. Their collective gaze sweeps over the herd, assessing. They are not looking at the dominant bull, the massive leader with his sweeping horns and aggressive posture. He is too strong, too dangerous, and his fall would send the entire herd into a panicked, unpredictable stampede. They are looking for something else. Their eyes pass over the calves, huddling close to their mothers. Too small. The return on the risk isn't great enough. Then they see him. An adult male, but one that stands slightly apart from the main group. He favors his left foreleg, a subtle limp that suggests a past injury. He is still a formidable beast, a ton of wild muscle, but he is their chosen target. He is the calculated risk. The plan is born from their intimate knowledge of this very landscape. The basin where the bison graze has one side that narrows into a gully, and at the end of that gully the ground becomes soft and treacherous, a bog disguised by a thin layer of turf. This is their trap. It's not about overwhelming the animal with brute force, but outthinking it, using the environment itself as a weapon. The hunters split up. The two younger males circle wide to the far side of the herd, moving with a fluid, ghostly silence. The female and the lone scout, our initial hunter, take up positions on the flanks, hidden, waiting. The old veteran remains on the ridge, the conductor of this silent, deadly orchestra. He watches. He waits for the precise moment when the target animal is in the perfect position, angled towards the mouth of the gully. The tension is palpable. It's in the coiled muscles of the hunters, the focused intensity in their eyes. Every fiber of their being is humming with adrenaline and anticipation. This is the knife's edge between a full belly and a devastating failure. The veteran raises a hand. The bison takes another step. The trap is set. With a sharp, guttural cry that shatters the afternoon quiet, he gives the signal, and from the far side of the basin, the two young hunters burst from their cover, charging not at the bison, but behind it, their shouts and sudden movements creating a wave of controlled panic designed to push the chosen animal right where they want him. The sudden explosion of sound and movement does exactly what it's intended to do. The bison herd jolts, a collective shudder of surprise and alarm. Heads snap up, nostrils flare, and a low chorus of guttural grunts fills the air. It's chaos, but it's a controlled chaos. The two young hunters are not mindlessly rushing forward. They are steering the panic. They move in short, aggressive bursts, using their bodies and their voices to create a pressure wall, cutting off escape routes to the open steppe. They are like expert sheepdogs, but their flock is a ton of terrified, horned fury. Their target, the male with the slight limp, reacts as predicted. Isolated and already at a disadvantage, his instinct is to flee from the most immediate threat. He turns away from the charging hunters, his powerful hindquarters driving him forward. To his left and right, the other members of the clan now reveal themselves. The female and our initial scout step out from their hiding places, not to attack, but simply to be seen. They are closing doors, narrowing his options. Their presence forms a channel, a funnel of fear. The only path that seems open, the path of least resistance, is straight ahead, directly into the mouth of the gully. He takes it. The ground begins to slope downwards, the gully walls rising on either side. The thundering of his hooves echoes in the confined space. He believes he is escaping, but he is running deeper into the trap. The Neanderthals don't chase him into the narrow passage. That would be foolish, cornering themselves with the panicked animal. Instead, they keep pace along the ridges above, their stocky, powerful legs easily navigating the broken ground. They are shadows keeping pace with their prey, their spears held low and ready. From this vantage point, they are in complete control, watching the plan unfold perfectly. The bison reaches the end of the gully, where it widens slightly into what looks like a patch of firm, grassy ground. He bursts out of the passage, momentum carrying him forward. For a split second he must have felt a sense of relief, but then the ground gives way. His front legs plunge deep into the hidden bog, the soft, grasping mud sucking at him, instantly killing his speed. He bellows in a mixture of terror and rage, struggling wildly. But the more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. The solid-looking turf was a lie, and the landscape itself has now become his prison. This is the moment. The critical phase where the hunt shifts from a tactical pursuit to a lethal confrontation. The hunters descend from the ridges, their movements now deliberate and fearless. They form a semicircle around the mired beast. The air is thick with the animal's scent, with the sound of its desperate, enraged breathing. Look at their faces now. There is no bloodlust, no savage glee. There is only a grim, focused determination. This is not an act of cruelty. It is the necessary, solemn work of survival. The veteran, the old male, approaches first. He moves to the bison's side, staying clear of the thrashing head and lethal horns. The bison, immobilized but still immensely powerful, swings its head, trying to gore him, but its movements are sluggish, hampered by the clinging mud. The Neanderthal is a dancer in a deadly arena. He feints. He watches the animal's eyes. He anticipates its every move. Then, in a blur of motion, he lunges forward. He doesn't throw his spear. He thrusts it, with the full power of his legs, his core, and his shoulders driving the fire-hardened point deep into the bison's side, just behind the front leg. He is aiming for the vital organs, for the lungs and heart. It's a move requiring immense strength and anatomical precision. He pulls back instantly, creating space as another hunter moves in. The wounded bison roars, a sound of pain and fury that rolls across the steppe. It's a terrifying, primal sound, but the Neanderthals are unflinching. The second hunter, one of the younger males, mirrors the veteran's technique, a powerful, controlled thrust from the other side. Then the female, then the scout. It's a coordinated, relentless attack. Each thrust is a carefully placed blow designed to be as efficient and effective as possible. They are exploiting the animal's immobility, a vulnerability they so cleverly engineered. This is brutal. It is violent. There is no sanitizing this reality, but it is also a testament to their incredible courage and cooperation. Remember the fossil record. Neanderthal skeletons are riddled with healed fractures, broken arms, ribs, skulls. Their injury patterns are remarkably similar to one group of modern humans, professional rodeo riders. This tells us that their lives were a series of close, violent encounters with large, dangerous animals. To survive not just the encounter but the injuries sustained speaks volumes about their physical resilience and the social care within their clans. A hunter with a broken arm could not hunt. They would have been fed, protected, and cared for by their group until they healed. Their survival was a shared responsibility. The bison's struggles weaken. Its bellows soften to ragged gasps. Its great head droops. The hunters stand back watching, their spears held ready but their work mostly done. They wait for the great animal to fall silent. In the fading light of the Pleistocene afternoon, a profound quiet descends over the gully, broken only by the sound of the wind and the heavy breathing of the hunters. The hunt is over, but their work is far from finished. The next phase, one just as crucial for their survival, is about to begin. The processing of this hard-won prize, a mountain of meat, fat, and hide that will sustain the clan through the coming days and weeks. The story of the hunt is a story of life, and this moment, in the shadow of their fallen prey, is the turning point. With the great beast finally still, the atmosphere shifts. The intense, high adrenaline focus of the hunt gives way to a methodical, practiced efficiency. There is no time for celebration, not yet. The falling sun and the ever-present cold are relentless clocks, and every moment of daylight is precious. The successful hunt is only half the battle. Securing the bounty is the other. The hunters gather around the bison not with triumph, but with a kind of deep, practical reverence. This animal will provide for them, and they will waste nothing. From pouches made of leather or gut, they produce their other essential tools. Flint knives. These are not crude, jagged rocks. They are masterpieces of Stone Age technology, the result of a sophisticated process called Levallois reduction. Imagine a Neanderthal selecting the perfect flint nodule, feeling its weight and texture. They don't just smash it randomly. They carefully prepare the core, striking off flakes around the edges to create a specific shape, like a tortoise shell. Then, with a single, precise, and expertly delivered blow, they strike the platform they have prepared, detaching a perfectly shaped flake with razor-sharp edges all around. This technique requires foresight, planning, and a deep understanding of physics and material science. It's the 3D printing of the Paleolithic, producing a standardized, predictable, and incredibly sharp tool on demand. With these formidable blades in hand, the butchery begins. It is a systematic and knowledgeable process. The veteran, with his lifetime of experience, directs the work. The first cuts are made through the thick hide, following the lines of the muscles and joints. This is heavy, difficult work, requiring the same strength they use to wield their spears. They peel back the massive hide, a resource in itself that will be painstakingly scraped, cured, and used for clothing, shelter, or blankets. Its insulating properties are second to none in this frigid world. As the carcass is opened, a wave of warmth and the rich, coppery smell of blood fills the air. For the Neanderthals, this is the scent of life, of calories, of survival. They work with a surgeon's precision. They know this animal's anatomy as well as any modern biologist. They sever muscles at their points of insertion, disarticulate joints with a practiced twist of the knife, and remove entire limbs to be carried back to their camp. The prime cuts of meat, the large muscles from the hindquarters and back, are set aside. The organs, the liver, heart, and kidneys, are harvested immediately. These are rich in vitamins and minerals that are hard to come by in the Pleistocene diet and would likely have been consumed quickly, perhaps even raw. A vital boost of nutrients after the exhausting hunt. Nothing is overlooked. They crack open the massive leg bones with heavy stones, exposing the rich, fatty marrow inside. In a world where calories are king, fat is gold. It's a dense source of energy, essential for fueling their large bodies and brains, and for surviving the lean times. The skull is opened to access the brain, another fatty and nutrient-rich organ. Even the stomach contents might be examined, providing clues about what other plants in the area are edible. The sinews are carefully stripped from the bone, long, tough fibers that, once dried, will become cordage, thread for sewing, and bindings for their tools and weapons. The bones themselves are a raw material for the next generation of tools. Awls for punching holes in hides, scrapers for cleaning them, and potentially even anvils for further flint knapping. This entire process is a race against time for another reason. The scent of such a massive kill will travel on the wind, a dinner bell for every other predator in the territory. A pack of giant hyenas or a prowling cave lion would be more than happy to challenge the hunters for their prize. Sentries are posted, spears in hand, their eyes scanning the darkening landscape, their ears attuned to the slightest unnatural sound. The clan's survival depends on both the success of the hunt and their ability to defend it. As the last light fades, the work is done. The choicest parts of the bison, huge haunches of meat, bundles of organs, heavy marrow-filled bones, and the massive rolled-up hide, are ready for transport. This is perhaps the most grueling part of the entire endeavor. Lifting and carrying hundreds of pounds of meat and bone across rough, uneven terrain in the dark is a monumental task. But they shoulder the load, their powerful frames built for just such feats of endurance. They begin the trek back to their home base, a rock shelter or cave entrance, a place of relative warmth and safety. Imagine them returning to camp. The others, the elders, the very young, those who did not participate in the hunt, see them emerge from the darkness laden with their bounty. The relief and joy would be palpable. The success of the hunt ripples through the entire community. It means full bellies. It means the security of knowing they have enough food for the coming days, perhaps weeks. It means the fire will be fed with fat-trimmed scraps, casting a warm, comforting glow into the depths of their shelter. It is the foundation of their social world. Around that fire, they would share the food, reinforce their social bonds, and perhaps recount the story of the hunt, passing on vital knowledge to the next generation. This is how their culture, their very hunting instinct, was preserved and transmitted through the millennia. When we look back at the Neanderthals, it's easy to see them through the lens of their extinction, to view them as a failure. But that's a profound mistake. They were one of the most successful human species ever to exist, surviving for hundreds of thousands of years through multiple ice ages in some of the most challenging environments on Earth. Their hunting instinct wasn't just a drive to kill. It was a complex system of knowledge, technology, cooperation, and courage. It was a testament to their intelligence and their deep connection to the natural world. They faced the challenges of nature head-on, not as brutish savages but as masters of their domain. So what do you think? When you picture a Neanderthal now, what do you see? Can you imagine the skill, the intelligence, and the sheer grit it took to survive in that lost world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm always fascinated to hear different perspectives on our ancient relatives. And of course, if you found this journey back to the Ice Age engaging, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into our shared human story. Thank you so much for watching. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and I'll see you next time.